This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with drummer Nick Collins and guitarist TREV LUKATHER of the up-and-coming hard rock act, The Effect. Trev, if I knew absolutely nothing about The Effect, how would you describe the band's music to me?
Ooh, well, I think, I would say we're like a heavy, well, Nick likes to say this too, is that we're like a heavy pop rock band. I think it's like there's hard rock elements, but there are pop hooks on the tunes. We wanted to make sure that we had anthemic choruses, and I think most importantly, it's all about the song. So, we are a rock band, we love rock, and that's our bread and butter, but like we also love pop choruses that you can't get out of your head. So we wanted to mesh that into some, fun little rock stew, and I think that everyone that in the band brings so much to the table and are so unique that it just has developed its own sound. So I think it's some fresh, hard pop rock and roll, man.
Nick, how did this whole project come together with you and Trev?
Yeah, so I met Trev for the first time in January of 2023. We'd been buds on Instagram for a bit, and actually Lee Sklar and Amy Keys, who played with both of our dads, were always saying that, we got to get together and meet one another. So that's how we kind of connected on Instagram. And then eventually he was in Miami for a show that kind of went south, and we ended up grabbing dinner. And it was just great. We totally, like vibed great, and the hang was awesome from the get-go. Had a great dinner, and then, but at the time, Trev was telling me about his last band, and Trev does a lot of production work, and that was kind of what he was really focused on. So when it came to working together, it was more along the lines of maybe a session or something. It was never, we never talked about making a band, but a couple months went by. I was on the road with Mike and the Mechanics, and Trev was like, "Hey, I've got this idea, and about putting some sort of some group together, just an experiment, just to kind of." At first, it started off, let's do one song and see what happens. And Trev got all of us together. Trev, has known Steve for a very long time, and he came across M on Instagram too, and so he kind of put together this group. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, at first I was like, well, what do you have in mind? And then he sent me the riff to Unwanted. And I was like, oh, dude, yeah, I'm in for sure. It's just, I was on the road at the time, so I couldn't record or do anything until I got home. And so that was the first tune, and everything just was, we were super stoked about how that one came out. So we did another one. And then we started writing. I think we wrote and mixed like 3 tunes before all 4 of us were in the same room together, which was weird because obviously Trev has known everybody and brought us all together. But we didn't know each other apart from Trev, obviously. And so we actually hung out the first time in LA over the summer after already having done 3 tunes. And it was great. That was always, a bit nervous about that because you're like, okay, like we know we can make tunes together, but like, how's the hang? How's everybody's personality? And it couldn't have gone any better. And, and that just kind of, everything's been so fast, and it's snowballed into, where we're at now, which is like less than a year later, we finished the whole record and, starting to get on the road and stuff. So it's been great. It's just been fast. You know what I mean? Which is a good thing.
Trev, do you want to add to how this whole project came together?
No, I mean, he really just kind of summed it up. It was, Emmett came across my feed on Instagram with his cover of Peter Gabriel's In Your Eyes. And that was Maddie and I's wedding song, and just him and acoustic guitar. And Madison said, "Who's that?" I was just, she heard it on my phone. I was like, "I know, who is that?" And I hit up Emmett, and he followed me right back. And it was just a love fest, not everything other than dick pics. It was all love, man, and, and just in my mind, I'm like, okay, this guy's amazing. Maybe I'll produce a solo record or something. We got to, I was kind of vibing the same thing. Not really wanting to do a band. But then I got on the phone with Emmett. We talked for like 3 hours, and Emmett's just one of those really spiritual, like beautiful people, no lead singer syndrome. And he was just a gem. So I was like, oh man, he's super cool. And I was like, and then I always say, it's like, if you're going to judge every relationship like your ex, it's like, I would never be married right now, so it's just like, I I hit the guys up, and Steve was working on my solo record with me, and Steve and I always wanted to do a band together. And so it just kind of the seas parted, man, and the time aligned and the universe aligned for us to do this. And it just, once we did the first three songs, we got together and the hang was great. What Nick said, it was just like, okay, we're doing this for real. This is just too much fun. It's too good.
The Effect has a couple of songs out. Nick mentioned Unwanted earlier, so why don't we talk a little bit about that one? This is sort of the song that brought everybody together, but maybe, Trev, you can get some insight to kind of your lyrical inspiration for this song.
Well, I talked to Emmett. Like, one thing when I work with any artist, production or writing wise, like we just talk for as long as we can, and I'd like to get just in depth with, I'm allergic to small chat, so like I like to go deep. And Emmett opened up about some things growing up, a certain relationship of his, and so I kind of took that idea and I said, hey man, what if we write a song about it? I mean, because Emmett's very, very comfortable in being, not being in a relationship, but also like, really, really had this long-term like relationship, but it never really they were never really together, but they were very close. But then there was they really had feelings for each other and all these things that he told me about. And that when each time that he would, go for it, it would never be the right timing. And then he would kind of get shut down. So, but he's okay with that. And he's like, oh, I'm really actually happy just, doing my thing and being on my own personal journey and spiritual journey. And so I was just like, okay, so he doesn't care and actually kind of enjoys it. And so I was like, well, what if we just kind of make a little twist on that, where it's like you put yourself out there and then you get shut down, but actually you like it. You don't care if you do get shut down. So it was just kind of an interesting idea that came out of M opening up about some of his own personal stuff. And and I think that's what, obviously, with every song we've done, it does have a personal meaning with one of the band members. So it's important that every song you write lyrically is real. You're not just throwing something out there and there's no heart behind it.
Nick, you mentioned earlier how the song, you were impressed by the song when you first got it. Obviously, you put your little stamp on it with your drum work. Is it the fact that it was relatable, the lyrically, or is it, more as you're a drummer, the riffs kind of spoke to you? What was it that attached you to the song?
Yeah, I don't think when I first heard it, the lyrics were on it yet. I think it was definitely the main riff that was like the cool. I was like, oh, this is heavy. Like, and I think I'm a big rock and metal dude, and I know Trev is too. So it's like that. I was kind of like, oh, cool. Like it's we're taking that angle. But I did also understand what Trev was trying to do as far as like the the pop choruses thing, and so I kind of got like what the what the I guess what the band's shtick was, kind of, if that's like the right word to use. It's like, okay, like I get what this is trying to do. And I was into the riff and I was into like Trev's tones and stuff. And then as we started piecing the songs together, I kind of very quickly learned that everybody was very, very, talented at songwriting and good at putting pieces together, but also doing what's right for the song. And yeah, and that was kind of the first thing, was the main riff. And then as we started, at first I played drums on kind of an already finished, not finished track, but for the most part, like I was the last one to do anything. So I thought that was going to be how we were going to work. And then afterwards, Trev was like, no, dude, like from now on, I'm sending you a guitar idea and you're coming up with drums before anybody else comes up with anything. I was like, okay. And like, so it was different to the way we ended up working, but it was also the right way for it to go and for the right way for it to happen, given that it was our first tune and we, the first thing we did together.
You have a follow-up single. It's called Something Wrong. Trev, is this another one that's kind of personal within the band?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all gone through moments in our life where, I mean, and it could be not just a relationship, friendship, or or you just questioning yourself in general at times of like, but what's really cool is with this song in particular, it just shows, it's kind of a very very like dysfunctional relationship on this one. Is basically when you're kind of someone that always takes the blame, you're always the one that kind of like, takes the fault, and or maybe you're in a situation where you're being told that if you're being told you're an asshole all the time, you might start believing it, even though you're not, but you're in a really bad little bubble, and you start questioning, is there something wrong with me? But then through what's cool is that we added lyrically a little things where you're starting to realize the other side of this, like the other side is actually crazy. So, it was a nice little, no, there's not really anything wrong with you, but it's just an all dysfunctional situation. So yeah, I can relate to my own personal situation, and that could be a band situation of previous times, and also just very dysfunctional relationships in the past too.
If it wasn't for bad relationships, we wouldn't have half the music we have in the world.
You know what I'm saying, man? You pain is beauty when you could make music out of it,
Nick, you got a couple of performance music videos to go along with these singles that are out now. Was this the first time you guys really got in the room together?
Well, the Unwanted music video is from that first hang that we ever did. We were at Mate's rehearsal studios in Burbank, and it was just like we weren't planning on shooting a music video. Actually, I remember like I texted Trev like before I flew out. I was like, I just want to like, are we planning on shooting a music video? Because like, should I be bringing clothes or anything? And it was like, no, we're not. And then like it was so, almost like a fuck it moment. Let's just do it. You know what I mean? And so we ended up doing it, and it was great. Like the spontaneity and the magic to that whole period of time, I feel, was captured by the video because it was very off the cuff. I mean, Trev's wife Madison, she like killed it with directing it, and we had a lot of friends helping us out. It was like so DIY that it was kind of like the perfect first thing to do. And then Something Wrong was a bit different just because we weren't all in the same room. I mean, I was in Miami, so I had to film mine, like my clip remotely. But we just finished filming a brand new music video for our next single, which Trev has been editing, and it looks super sick, and it's almost like a whole different ballpark from the first two. But it's those first two, I'm not a big music video fan as far as like being in them, but when you see the finished product, you're like, yeah, it's great. And Trev and Madison have killed it and like putting everything together.
Trev, did I read that you edited both of the videos? It's kind of your first time do it yourself on the fly editing coming into this music video stuff, right?
Yeah, man. My first, I kind of messed with some, I messed with editing videos for my personal solo record stuff, and I just kind of dived in completely blind, jumped in the deep end, and I actually really started enjoying it. And that's I guess maybe production work and all those things when you're able to like build something out from scratch and start piecing pieces of the puzzle together. It's really fun, man. It's a lot of work, no doubt. It's a lot of work, but luckily I'm ADD and I hyper focus on things, and Nick, I love you, brother, for the love, man. And it's been a really fun added little thing that I've kind of developed into getting into editing. And my cousin Jake Hayes, who did our logo for the band, he's a great director and editor. And when I did some of the work, he looked at it and he says, man, because he's so great. And he's like, a lot of people go to school for this for years. And, you're naturally gifted at this. Like, so it's been really cool. Nice little, it's kind of like a trip for me. I feel that with music in general, too, or playing or writing or producing anything. I never can take credit for it because I just don't know how I do it. I think I'm just a vessel from something else that like channels me, luckily, because I have no idea how I play music. I'm self-taught. I don't know how, songwriting to me is like proof of magic, like we're like, there's nothing there 1 second. No, here's a rabbit out of that, because then all of a sudden it takes its own life and it connects to people. I mean, all of it's so insanely like it's so cool. I'm just happy that in this life I got some love, man, spiritual love, that I could do this. It's cool. It's awesome.
Trev, Nick mentioned earlier you guys have finished recording an album. When do you plan on releasing the full thing?
We have the album mastered. It's done. 10 songs are mastered, finished. We already have the sequence. We're going on the road this summer. So now at this point, with building awareness, and thank you, George, because you're a part of that, man. Really getting the word out about the band. We're just, we want to make sure it comes out with some love behind it. And now I think finding the right home for the band, since we have Toxic Envy, the video done, and the awareness of the band starting to really move, that like we are going to probably end up shopping, because we had 2 record deal offers before we even put out a song. And of course, like, they were terrible because we weren't, announced to the world. We didn't have anything other than the story and the music that they liked. So of course those deals aren't in your favor. So we wanted to build it up to, like, then find the right home where we're not so, taken advantage of, business wise. But yeah, so I think, the next step is finding that home. And, if the deals are not happening again, then we'll self-release, and we'll probably end up putting it out while we're touring, because we want to have some vinyl CDs and stuff to sell while we're touring.
Nick, when is the 3rd single set to drop?
Kind of piggybacking off what Trev said, it's kind of one of those where everything essentially now is done. Like, we've got the video finished, and the track is finished. And so we're just waiting until, like, more things, as we have a clearer picture for the summer, it'll help us kind of determine when we're going to put it out. It's very tentative at the moment, other than the fact that it's done. Like, it could come out next week. It could come out in 2 months. Like, we don't know yet. We're just trying to wait for the right timing to put it out, just because, with the single and as well the record as a whole, like, we believe in the songs that we've made and the album we've made. So we want to make sure that it's coming out to as many people as possible, because nowadays, so much music gets released every day that you can just be another drop in the ocean. And, like, you've got to play your cards right, because you only get like one chance at a first impression. So, we're just trying to wait for the right timing.
Trev, I saw you guys have played a couple shows out in Hollywood recently. Is the set list pretty much the full album, or do you guys, take some songs from your past or what you're tied to, or do some covers?
We, for the last sets that we've done, because we opened for Steel Panther in a couple shows in San Diego and Anaheim, which were so much fun. And what was so cool about that is people didn't even know there was an opener, and they knew nothing about us. And to win over a crowd, especially the Steel Panther party rock crowd, it was a lot of fun, man. And those guys are just gems of people. So we did the rock set. Like, we basically did, like, the rock, like, every tune was just like our rock stuff. We do have, like, 3 like vibier tunes. We have a ballad. We have kind of more of a chill like heavy, but also verses are very clean, delayed guitar stuff. Also, we have a very policey kind of tune. So we just left those out of the set because we did like 30 minutes. So yeah, I mean, we'll bring those into the fold, especially going out this summer. But yeah, we just kind of just stuck to our own music, and we just did like a face melting rock set. It's like, all right, what are the heaviest tunes we got? Let's just do those, So it was like 5, 6 songs back, like, in a row, boom, 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 barely any talking other than introducing the band. And we got off the stage, and people really dug it.
Yeah, apart from the first set that we did, which every show we've done, I think, has been 6 songs, 30-minute sets, because the last couple have been openers, and so you're kind of limited as to that amount of time. But the first show, we only had 6 songs written at the time.
Right.
So, like, we did, that was all we had. Like, we had people asking for an encore, and it's like, I'm sorry, we don't know anything else. You know what I mean? Like, this is all we've got. So, it'll be nice eventually to obviously do our own headline shows where we can throw in more than 6 songs, but also to test out different tunes and orders as we get on the road too.
Nick, it must have been exciting that the crowd was well received, the effect, because I would think a crowd that goes to see Steel Panther could tear apart a new band.
Totally. Yeah. I think in a way, like, they were a great crowd because they're just there to have a good time. And I think we were confident enough in the material that, like, we picked the right stuff. I think if we would have thrown out a ballad or something, then they would have been like, oh, what is this? You know what I mean? And maybe we would have had a bit of a tougher time, but we just, like, we knew, and especially, Trev has played some shows with them before, and he was like, it's just full throttle the whole time. And that's what we did, and it was great. Like, it was, we really enjoyed the first, I think San Diego was almost an easier crowd to win over. Like they were really up for it. And then Anaheim was like you had to kind of break them a little bit. And I
Yeah.
know M like loves that. Like he loves to try and like, force his way in with a crowd and, by the end getting them to like you. So it's a fun, it's a like a little game that you have to play with them, you know what I mean? And it's great. Like they were so awesome and super receptive to all the tunes. And honestly, like if we could tour with Steel Panther, we would, you know what I mean? Like they're just a perfect crowd for an opening band.
Yeah.
Trev, where is the summer tour going to take you? Is it going to take you outside of California?
Oh yes, it's taking us overseas. Actually, we're going to start overseas. Just opportunities came up that were just, overseas for this band in particular. I think with Nick and I as well, as Steve in the mix, goes a long way. And so more opportunities that can, bread wise as well, that that make it possible for us to tour. It's a little tough, financially as a new band. So touring just even America is really tough if your guarantees are very low. But there's just ways overseas that we can just, play our own shows and do a really good biz. And yeah, we're starting over there, and we're really excited to eventually announce what we're doing. And I think people are going to be really excited. And I think this is going to be a huge, huge, huge moment for the band to really break us through, and build that buzz, that added buzz that we need to really make a dent in the scene.
And I think America understands that European countries are a little more receptive to rock and roll because rock and roll just doesn't really get its attention on terrestrial radio or on TV and stuff like that. So it makes sense that you guys are going to start in Europe.
Yeah, man. And I gotta say, man, it's so much fun to tour Europe. I mean, you could play like old castles and stuff, it's not like you're kind of going through and playing some really divey kind of spot that which are legendary spots throughout the country. But I think that the scenery of Europe too to tour is so amazing historically too, and just the sights that you get to experience and see. And yeah, I mean the Europe fans, what's so great about Europe fans too is that they're diehard too, man. You got when they like you and they support you, they have your back for life. And they even raise their kids. I mean, our dad's music, like there's so many young people that get hit in Europe because their parents raised them on that music. This is my favorite band, like, or my favorite artist. And then the kid grows up to just fall in love with that artist and that band because they went to the shows as kids, and then they grow up then all of a sudden they're doing that, and then their kids. So they're very like just diehard family fans too. So us, really making a mark there, because my pops band, I mean, he lived off of Japan and Europe before they kind of toured the United States and had this huge resurgence. They barely ever toured America. So, just I saw that and witnessed it. So it's something that it changed my life when I went on the road with my dad when I was 13 years old, and he had me play every night. He surprised me with giving me a guitar. And it was like, that was when I realized my dad's band was very, very popular too. And 20,000 streaming fans, when I got to play my own riff and the guys backed me up for like 30 seconds, you hear a roar of 20,000 people in Europe. I was hooked, man. I was like, no drug can touch it, So that also, I don't know, there's just some kind of special connection there with me in particular. And obviously Nick was born and raised a lot of his life over there too. So it means a lot to us. And I think there'll be a good start for the band.
Let's talk about your fathers. Obviously, you guys are cutting it on your own here with the effect, but Trev, your dad is Steve Lukather of Toto, and Nick, your dad is Phil Collins. So I would imagine that having this connection is a blessing and a curse at some times, Nicholas.
Yeah, I mean, not towards each other. Like I think with each other, it's been actually really great and proven to be a real kind of sense of comfort and within the band that you can be vulnerable with each other about things that, because, and I've said this before, like we're super, we've lived a very lucky and privileged life. Um, but there is also elements that some people may, just when your life is constantly in the limelight and personal matters are just always out there, when you're able to actually have that kind of understanding with a bandmate and a friend on that level who gets what you're going through and can, you can kind of be there for one another. That's really been helpful and especially been great for, Trev and I's relationship as well as like making songs together. As far as like publicly or within the music industry, it's definitely double-edged sword. Like you get some, there's a lot of people who will open the door because of who your dads are, and that's great. But at the end of the day, like the first thing is you gotta, like, if you suck, then people won't give you the time of day. It doesn't matter whose kid you are. Like if you're not good and you're not gonna make the money, then like they don't really have any interest. You know what I mean? But also as musicians, you're immediately compared to somebody, and you immediately get put on that, you're kind of just always, there's always that is always mentioned in the background, which is fine. I think at this point we've both gotten used to it, and I have no issues with it whatsoever now. But definitely starting off, it does, kind of get to you a little bit because you're just like, people are always trying to get me to be somebody that I'm not. And, at the end of the day, like I'm super proud of the career that my dad's had and, all the music he's made. And I love that stuff. It's what I grew up on, but, that isn't me. And I didn't write those things, and I wasn't that. So like I need to do my own thing. So it's one of those things, like you just kind of get used to it and you live with it. There's the pros and cons, but I definitely feel it's better to just go with the pros, you know what I mean? And not let it be an obstacle or a hindrance to like what you want to do.
Trev, what do you say on all of that?
I mean, he's so spot on. It's definitely opens a lot of doors, but what Nick said is right. I mean, you could be walked to the door, but you got to open it and you got to own the room. That's what I say. And there's always going to be the haters. They just hate you because you squirted out of a certain nut sack. I mean, that's just the way it is. And there's no point in even really giving that the time of day because you can't do anything about it. And it doesn't, what Nick said is true. When I was younger, it used to affect me, but then I just kind of realized that, we're all on this floating speck in the universe, not knowing what's going on or why we're here or you just have to go with the flow. And our dad's story is their story. We have our own story and we have our own, path to walk. And we're very different as well. Yeah. But it is true. Like you're instantly compared to somebody without anyone kind of just saying, oh, wait, I can dig this and really like it. But it's like, no, wait, well, they're kids of, and then, oh, this sounds like a heavy Toto and Genesis, like immediately, because that's where our dads are from. It's like they would never probably say that if they didn't know. But then when they know, it's like, oh, it sounds like a modern heavy Genesis Toto morphing. It's like, does it? But okay, but but like
It's
cool.
so true.
But cool. Like if that's what hooks them in, great. Like and we've had a lot of early support from our dad's fans. So we're very thankful and grateful for that. But I know that this album is going, as we build it, is going to build into something where it's going to be an afterthought that we're the kids of eventually down the line is, oh, wait, that's an added thing that is in the back of your head sometimes, or you're like, oh, that's a cool story. But we're not leaning on that to just get us through. We're our own beasts and we're proud of what we've made. And, there's just going to be no stopping us doing what we're doing. But we love and respect our dads beyond. And we're so grateful because we're playing the instruments that we play because we were inspired by them as kids and looked up to them. We still do. So the honor and the influence is always there, but it's this is our own time.
Nick, what does your dad think of your music?
Yeah, he likes it. I mean, it's there's some things that are different to like with anything I ever do. And I think I have a heavier threshold for heavier music. You know what I mean? So that's like always been where I'm at. But I think for him, he always loves melodies, and obviously, he likes drum parts and drum sounds. But I think to him, it's always what a melody and a and what emotion that evokes in a listener. And when I showed him the effects stuff, I haven't showed him the whole record. But I showed him the first couple tunes when I was with him last summer, and then I showed him a couple more when I saw him over Christmas. But he's super into it. And when I told him that I was gonna, I was in a band with Trev, and he was like, "Well, if it's got anything to do with a Lukather, it must be good." You know what I mean? So there was definitely that respect on my dad's level, just from Steve's work, and not only with Toto, but also like in the LA session scene, like very similar. Very similar groups, maybe not at the same exact time, but always like within, near enough circles of each other. So, lots of respect there. And yeah, my dad digs it, you know what I mean? But he's also nowadays, like, he's kind of sick of music in general. Like, my dad very rarely listens to music unless it's like an early, like, Who record or like a Yes record or something. Like, that's the only times I find him listening to stuff. Usually he's kind of over it now.
We all get kind of frozen in the music we loved when we were a teenager.
Yeah.
Trev, obviously your dad, he digs your music.
Yeah, man. He's been a huge lover of the Effect, and obviously with Phil, Genesis, early Genesis to my dad was everything. When Gabriel was a part of the band and all that stuff, it's like one of his favorite albums, some of his favorite music of all time. So his respect for Phil is beyond deep. So, even like when my dad was like saying to Nick, like, "Oh, please pass my love on." And then when Nick relayed the messages from Phil, like it made my dad's, life. I mean, he absolutely loves Nick's dad. And, he's really, dad like flipped over the stuff. I mean, I haven't played him the whole album either, but from what I've played him, he'll time me like literally immediately, like, and just he'll listen to it right then and there and call me and just start tripping about stuff and asking me questions about like, "Oh man, what's this?" And "Man, I love that solo, man. How'd you go with the solo, man?" Like I would never think of that. Like he's very like that, and so yeah, huge support system, huge believer in the cause and in the band. And definitely appreciated.
Trev, does the Effect have a bass player? I didn't see one in the video.
No, man. No, we don't have a bass player. We had Josh Paul play bass on the album, who is, an incredible bass player. He played with Daughtry and Suicidal Tendencies. Like he's a bass smacker, man, slapper. And he really helped us do the album. But, he's a family man. He's got kids, and it's just not exactly something where, "Hey man, you want to come on tour and make no money for like 9 months?" It's like, that's not an option. So he helped us out and really brought an insane bass to the album. Now live, Steve will handle some, the synth bass for low end. And also we put some bass on track too, but eventually down the line, as the band builds and we can afford it, yeah, we'll get a bass player to come on the road with us. But we live in 2024, so it's like a lot of tracks are had nowadays on tours and albums, and I think that people don't really care. I think bass players care. A lot of people have commented, and I always see a bass in their hand when they're like, "Where's the bass player?" And there's like the still shot of the bass. And I'm like, yep. But when you saw it, when the shows we've done, every show we've done, not one person after the gig came up to us and said, "Where's the bass player?" Like the way we always have our front house guy to make, like Kenny Freeman helped us with these shows. He does the Toto tours. Kenny's incredible. We sent him the record. He knew the music. He mixed it so well that it's like no one cared. It's just like, we got to do what we got to do to build, but eventually down the line, when we can afford it, we're furthest from opposed of having like a touring bass player.
Nick, I know you've played out live with Mike and the Mechanics and Genesis and Phil Collins. Are you working with any other bands in a live setting while you're still trying to get things together with the Effect?
Not right now. I mean, obviously, I have my own band, Better Strangers, which have been a thing for a while, but we're kind of, we don't have a singer, so that's not happening right now. But as far as other bands, nothing really. Like the Effect is really the main focus right now, as far as as it goes. There was, there's some talks like, the mechanics are taking some time off now, so we'll see. Like, I never will shoot anything down, but obviously the priority is what I'm involved in. You know what I mean? I spent the last couple of years being you know, almost like a record player in a way, which I've loved, and it's taught me so much. But I think it's time for me to, get on my own 2 feet and do my own thing, you know what I mean? And music that I've been involved in, which is really like my passion is, writing songs and being in a band rather than being just a hired gun. Although I do love that and it's great and fun in some ways, but I think doing my own things and with the effect, it's that's the priority at the moment.
Trev, how about you? I know you do a lot of production work. You've done some solo singles recently. Are you still doing stuff like that on the side?
No, I'm so hyper ADD. Like I said, man, like if I hyper focus on one thing, and production, yeah, if that comes in where I could do a song, it's going to be hard for me to commit to any kind of album or because that takes up a lot of time, and we're really building this up. So it's hard for me to commit to anything like that. I mean, I've had some huge opportunity things pop up touring wise, but once again, that can't happen right now because it's, you can't leave the buzz while it's building and it could be detrimental. So, we're all full 100% blast on this. And, with the tour opportunities in full swing, it's like we're in this, man. This is a full blown, like full 100% focus situation.
Before I let you guys go, Trev, how did you come up with the name The Effect?
It was crazy, man. Like after Steve and I rapped Unwanted, his parts, he was here at the house, and we go to the bar, and we pour a little shot. This is a cheers of congratulations for finishing our first tune. And then we start thinking band, like, well, what's going to be the band name? Like, oh man, that's a good question, And then I remember, like, I don't know, I just for some reason went through my notes, scrolling through the notes in my phone, and there was like a random note that just said The Effect, and I have no idea when or why I thought or how I wrote that down. Can't remember to save my life. But when I said that to Steve, he said, man, that's a cool name, and I, talked to Emmett. Emmett loved it. Nick was at first like, okay, and then like after we did a few tunes, he's like, you know what? The name really fits the sound too. So like, it just kind of was a random thing. But what's cool is I look at that, like, where did that come from? But then it makes sense because it's the cause and the effect of us, the timing of everything, and us all, me being in Miami and this like, pilot for this TV show, reality show they wanted me to host, like, the producer and director got at each other's throats and it canceled the first day, and we're there. They flew me out with Madison, and I'm like, what are we gonna do? That happened to happen in Miami where I could then meet with Nick. Like those things, or Emmett coming across the feed, all those things that just aligned make sense with the name as well,
Nick, did you offer any names that got rejected?
No, I didn't. No, honestly, The Effect was the first name and the only name, really. It's just, when it's just, I've been in so many situations where you're trying to come up with a band name, and everybody's instinct is always to like hate the first one that's suggested because you just want to like leave the door open. So I think that was what it was. I was just like, well, let's not jump the gun. And then I never have anything better to suggest. So I was like, and to be with what Trev said, like as we wrote more songs, I was like, and the name starts to grow on you. And obviously now with, the logo and everything, it's great. Like, you know what I mean? It's totally now taken on a life of its own, and everything that we've done makes it even better, like makes the name better, like the logo and stuff. And so, yeah, no, I didn't suggest any other names, and I wouldn't say that's my strong suit either, band names. So,
well, my dad also was like, hey man, really, he loves the band name too. So that's a cool band name. Also, every time I mention the band name to people, it's cool because Dad's like, listen, man, you don't want to be like me, stuck with Toto, Dad never was a huge fan of that band name. But he was, 19 years old in the band, and Jeff Porcaro and David Paich were the guys that put the band together, and it was like, this is what it's going to be. Dad's like, great. He tried to throw in a few names, but he was the new kid on the block at the time. Now, obviously it's, it's his baby, but like, Yeah, I mean, Dad was like never really, so he just says band names are important, man. Just make sure. And then when I said the effect, he's like, that's a cool name. So yeah, I mean, we're all stoked about the name. I think it's, there's a lot of questionable band names out there, man. So we're happy.
Trev, I am curious about this reality show that was a no-go. What was that going to be about?
It was a guitar and it's a shop in Miami with guitars and like classic cars all in one. So each show is going to be about like a certain, vintage guitar and a classic car, and there was going to be like a different musician, guest on every episode. But yeah, man, the director and the producer, I'm talking about almost physical, man. First day of shooting, just two, alpha male guys, man, trying to make has more, I want this. Well, I'm kind of seeing this, and then boom. I mean, it just imploded. So the next morning, I got a text, or no, actually that night after the huge blowout, I got a call and a text of just like, hey, like, we went out to dinner with the director and one of the co-producers of the show, and they were so apologetic, and they were like, I can't believe this is done after one day, and like they paid me to be out there, like, and so the other producer that kind of like got tweaked about it, that the blowout happened with, he hit me up saying, listen, think of this, because Madison and I were just freshly married at the time. We got married in December, and he's like, just look at it as like a second, honeymoon in Miami, and so I was like, okay, what are we gonna do? And thank God for Nick, man. Like I was able to hang with Nick, and then obviously look at us now. Talk about like the butterfly effect when it comes to certain things in life. It's like that happened, and now we're sitting here, and who knows if we would be sitting here talking to you if that didn't happen.
Well, those are all the questions I have for you today, guys. The name of the band is The Effect. Your latest singles are Unwanted and Something Wrong. You got a summer tour coming up soon. I want to thank both of you for speaking with KNAC.com today, and I wish you the best of luck with everything.
George, absolutely, thank you, man.
George. Yeah, man. Thank you for having us.